We welcome one of our safety professionals in the building. Goes by the name Mr. Nonso Uju. I hope I'm correct.
Yes.
If you can hear me, Mr. Nonso, can you signify?
I can hear you, sir. Uju
Thanks
Jingwa
for
is the
joining
name.
us on this beautiful moment. And the discussion for today will rally around the issue of gas explosion that has been happening recently in Nigeria. It calls for serious concern. With me, I have lots and lots of safety professionals around me, and part of them is Mr. Nonso. I have Mr. David, I have Mr. Sunday, Mr. Olayenka, Mr. Dare, Miss Kofo, and the rest. And all will be discussing with us on this very, very important topic. Why do we keep having repeated issues of gas explosions, tanker explosions? There's explosion either here or there. What are the causes? What are the way forward? And what are those things as human we should do when we see a gas explosion in our community? It's going to be a roundtable discussion. There's no one traffic. There's no one person talking, one person listening. Everybody will contribute. For others who are unable to join us in a live discussion, please kindly drop in your comments, drop in your questions, and let us know the way forward in this beautiful discussion. Kindly bear with us as we await other professionals to join us on the round table. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for making it to our first ever podcast that will be happening live. The simple truth be say we must preach safety. Anyhow we want to do am, we preach am, everybody must hear, everybody must listen, everybody must adhere, because when someone behind you, beside you, living close to you is not safe, there's nobody is safe. So anyhow I want to do am, na to do, we must do am anyhow. We must be safety compliant. As an individual, as a group, as an organization, as a government, we must all be safety conscious. Right about now, we have to start this beautiful discussion. Right about now, it's 5 minutes after 5. And here we kickstart our discussion today. As we know, this is all about health and safety, and we have our professionals in the building. As we await others, let us have a brief introduction of who we have on the table. So first of all, I have Mr. Nonso. Please kindly introduce yourself to us. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Ali, for having me on your show. My name is Uju Jingwa, a safety professional working with an oil and gas firm in Port Harcourt as a HSC professional and also an internal control officer. I'm really glad to be here today to discuss on this important topic.
In case you're just joining us, this is Safety Podcast with Waliullah, and all we do is all about safety, as you all know. There are a lot of safety concerns, like we know, it's not limited to the road. In our homes, in our workplaces, everywhere we are, there is always an issue of unsafe practice, accident, injuries happening around us. So today we shall be discussing about gas explosions, the recent ones that have been happening around us. There was a gas explosion, I think, 2 weeks ago in Abeokuta. Last week, another gas explosion. We know the $100 explosion that happened, and lots and a lot of other gas explosions that have happened in recent times. Throughout last year, we recorded a high number of gas explosions. Why do we have these gas explosions, and how can we control them, and how can we advise, and what can we tell to the government to help us to avoid and to reduce the issue of gas explosion? And that is all we'll be discussing about today. If you can hear us clearly, please kindly signify so that we can know that everyone is on board. Write it down in the comment section that you can hear us live anywhere you are around the globe. Yes, there are people who can signify that they can hear us clearly. Mr. Daniel, thank you for your response. And Mr. or Mrs. Ibezi Imako, thank you for coming. We recognize you. Mr. Daniel, you can check your email address. I've sent you the link for you to join in the audio discussion. If you feel that you also want to contribute to the session, kindly send us your email. Kindly comment with your email address so that we can send you the link to join in this discussion. Thank you. Thank you all for coming, and now we shall start formally this beautiful discussion today. And we will be gradually trying to wait for some of our professionals. We are supposed to be 7 numbers to discuss this beautiful topic. We have with us Mr. David Otobo, who is yet to be here. We have a female safety professional, Miss Kofoworola. Mr. Sunday, Mr. Olanyeka is also supposed to be here, and Mr. Dare. But we have on ground already 2 safety professionals, Mr. Daniel and Mr. Nonso. So we shall start the discussion formally. And if you are just joining us, remember this is live on air, where we shall be discussing about the recent gas explosions in Nigeria, and we shall be rallying around this topic. And you want your full attention, want your contribution to this discussion. Please kindly give it a like, kindly follow us on this platform so that we shall continue to give you lots of safety discussion. As we do our culture, we have seen someone else who has joined, Mr. or Miss Ashu. Thanks for joining us on this session. If you have any question that you'd like to ask, please kindly drop in your questions. If you have contribution to this discussion, kindly contribute to this session. It concerns us because gas explosion, when it happens, it doesn't know who is safety conscious or who is not safety conscious. All it knows is that I'm going to burn and destroy everything. So that is why we all have to come together, put our heads together to make sure we fight this issue of gas explosion. Thank you for your patience and for joining us on this discussion. We are talking about gas explosion. If you agree with me, in the past few months, a year, we have series of gas explosions. Please, in the comment section, can you remind us of various explosions that happened? I could remember the one that happened. I think that was a Otedola Bridge. That was one of those that rocked the whole of Nigeria. There are several ones that happened along Arepo, different locations in Nigeria. There was a pipeline gas explosion that happened that caused a whole school, a hostel, if I'm not mistaken, to collapse. And thank God there was no life lost in the school, but it was a serious gas explosion. There were many infractions that led to the whole fire, the whole gas explosion, which is what we are going to talk about today. But we also remember the one that happened recently. Let's talk about the recent ones. The one that happened in Abeokuta. I felt so sad when I saw someone burning live due to a gas explosion. Mr. Uju just mentioned to us another one happened at Iju, September 2020. Abule Ado, 15th of March 2020. Abule Ado, another person mentioned Abule Ado. So we are all conversant with all these issues of gas explosion. And the funny thing is, it can happen to anybody. It can happen at any time. Lokoja, Kogi State, thank you. It can happen to anybody at any time if we don't talk about this and talk to the government on how to correct the issues of gas explosion in Nigeria. Our heartfelt condolence goes to those who have lost their life in the various explosions that has happened in recent times and in the past. May God continue to give the family the fortitude to bear the loss. In Barua, gas explosion by Mr. Nonso. Mr. Barua explosion again in October 8, 2020. In Lokoja, that is in Kogi State. Loss, how many can we mention? But can we continue to keep quiet like nothing is happening? That is why we need to discuss about it. So firstly, when we talk about gas explosion, like one of our safety professionals rightly said, gas explosion has to do with the air around us, the compressed air around us, the air that have been compressed to a certain pressure. Some of them are normally volatile, while some are not volatile. Like if oxygen is being compressed and being transported, it can also explode. But the difference is that it is non-flammable, but it can assist in flammability to allow other things to lead to fire. A common one that is being transported is our PMS, that is the petrol, and the CH4, that is the methane or propane gas, that have been transported along the road. And these are the common explosions that has happened in recent times. What are those things? What are the primary effect and the secondary effect? You see, some of those things that we have observed over time, before a gas explosion could occur, something will have led to something that finally led to the final explosion. We want Mr. Nonso, what do you think are those causes that transcend from one point to another to finally lead to the gas explosion that we have in recent times? Is Mr. Nonso there with us?
Yes, I can hear you.
So we're talking about this gas explosion. We mentioned that a lot of things can lead to fire explosion, but let's focus on what we have on ground. What are those things? Yes. What are those loopholes that might have happened from the beginning, from where it's been transported? What are those things that might have caused it to happen right to the road, to the falling, or to the explosion till it leads to fire around the community? What are those loopholes? What are those things that causes these things to happen?
There are several contributory factors to gas explosions. Sometimes it is the vehicles that convey them. They don't have the intrinsic safety provisions to prevent such explosions. Sometimes they are vehicles that are not stable. You see worn out vehicles conveying volatile materials where they can overturn on the road and cause explosions. And there are so many other contributory factors. Carelessness by personnel or nonchalant attitude while conveying something that is harmful. You don't follow safety provisions. All these things are contributory factors to gas explosions. And also another contributory factor is siting of gas stations close to residential areas where people normally
Mm,
pass or people normally
mm.
exist. Yes, this is another
So you mean that
major contributing factor.
there are regulations that should guide the location of various gas stations that we have across the nation?
Yes, there should
Is
be
that what you said? Not
in most
okay, okay.
there should be in most developed nations. They don't site gas stations that close to residential areas
Mm,
because vehicles
mm.
would pass there regularly. People would get access to that place frequently, and things happen. People smoke around the area,
Yes,
so
very
it's
very
necessary
true,
to
very
site
true.
it's necessary to site gas stations far from residential areas. That
That's
is
very
one
true. Even
contributory factor.
if you look at our communities, you see gas stations though they are facing the road, but at the back of that gas station, it is residential, and you see some those that sell domestic gases, that sell them domestic gases used for cooking gases. You see them, they station their gases in within the community. A gas plant of like let's say 3,000 liters of 3,000 cubic meters of their gas stationed inside the community without any safety measure. Is this right? And which government body is responsible to cater for this? And how do you think we can move ahead around this?
Of course, it is very wrong to cite such explosive facility close to residential areas. Even sometimes you see where we go to refill our gases, our kitchen gases, they are sited close to other stores selling different things that could even contribute to fire outbreaks or gas explosions. So these are things that need to be put in place. I think it should be the responsibility of probably the the fire safety, fire
Okay.
ministry to control that. Siting of
Mm.
gas stations, siting of petroleum facilities close to residential areas.
Yeah, this
Perhaps
actually
even the
reminds me.
GPR.
Thank you very
All
much,
right, all
Mr.
right.
Nonso. Thanks for your contribution. Now, after you, now we're going to hear from Mr. Daniel. I wish other people who are supposed to be here are here with us. We will have distributed the discussion across them, but we have only two people live. Mr. Balaji, please kindly join the discussion with us. You are supposed to be live with us here. Please kindly join the discussion, please. You're supposed to be live here with us. So, talking about regulatory bodies, we have regulatory bodies like DPR, and even in our new national policy, OSH policy, that tells us significantly that the government is holding on the responsibility to cater for the health and safety of its people. Because when you look at the issue of this gas explosion, like you rightly mentioned, there are a lot of things that is wrong. Stationing of gas stations. When you mean to our audience, we are talking about gas station, we mean your petrol station is also gas. Gas stations, they are always, you see them within communities, which is not supposed to be so. You see some wrong practices. You see domestic gas station within the community, and
Yes.
there's nobody to tell anyone that this is actually wrong. And it's a responsibility on the people to talk out, to speak out, and raise the alarm that this person is building or has built a gas station in our community. Let's talk about those that have been happening in our on the road. Let's talk about the road, because that is where we have majority of the explosions. The one that happen on road, the drivers, sometimes there are always report of reckless driving. What do you think the organization should do? Because these people are being engaged by people. Sometimes you see some gas, you see some tankers that are being used to transport these gases. You see them leaking. You see them leaking. You see them in poor condition. You see them breaking down. There's an issue of road. Our road are very bad, we know. But now let's talk about the responsibility of the organization that employs these drivers, that use this equipment. What do you think is to be their responsibility? I'll be discussing with Mr. Daniel. Mr. Daniel, are you there with us? Is Mr. Daniel there with us? Hello, Mr. Daniel. Hello. I think Mr. Daniel is not here with us. So, Mr. Emmanuel, please kindly join the audio session. So, we have a lot of issues concerning gas explosion, and we've mentioned the issue of drivers. Sometimes the drivers are not competent to drive. Most of these guys that they use as drivers are all these I wouldn't know what to call them, but most times it's obvious that their level of reckless driving is very bad. And I think that what the government should do is to make sure that there are regulatory bodies that goes to audit or inspect. Let me use the word audit, to audit these organizations. And part of those things is to be under the issue of competency. They should give us evidence of regular training of all these drivers. Because if they are regularly trained and they go through the right training, then the issue of reckless driving will reduce. Do you agree with me, Mr. Nonso? Mr. Danny, are you there?
Hello. Yes. Can you hear me?
Can you hear? Yeah, I said, do you agree with me that the competency of these drivers also contribute to the issue of gas explosion? Because sometimes before a gas can explode, maybe it tilted and fell, maybe due to reckless driving, or there was no proper traffic management system put in place to be able to ensure that there is no issue of tilting or falling of the gases. Do you agree with me that competency also contribute to it?
Yes. Because when we are looking at safety, we just have to see safety holistically. It does not. It actually boils down to the driver, the truck owner, because sometimes many of them try to cut corners by not putting their vehicles in order. Sometimes you will see some of the tank leaking at the back, and then before fire could occur, can you hear me?
Clearly, sir.
Okay, before fire could occur, three components will be present. That is the fuel, oxygen that can be gotten from it, and ignition. When these three components are present, fire is bound to happen. So when a driver is transporting hydrocarbon products, such as ethane, butane, or PMS, propane, methane, or LPG, liquefied petroleum gas. So since they are moving on the road, there is air, they can get oxygen from the road. Then if a nearby car that has a bad exhausting system, thereby releasing flakes of fire, so that can easily go to whereby the PMS leakages is and cause explosion.
Another thing we want us to discuss about this issue of gas explosion is the falling of the tankers. We have bad roads. Those are contributory factors that are leading to various fire explosions that we have in recent times. Various fire explosions, because when a petrol tanker, for example, falls, there's this common habit of people. Anytime there's a fall of petrol tanker, the next thing that should be done is to run away. But now we now have a situation whereby anytime there is an explosion, there are three sets of people. There are those who want to go there and take their own share of the petrol, who want to go there and steal the petrol. There are another set of people who are there just to watch what is happening. I don't know what those people are doing. They are just there. There's fire, and they are there looking. And there are other set of people who are driving, who are supposed to leave their car. If you can remember very well, in Otedola, who are supposed to leave their car and run for their lives, they will be like, this is my car, I can't leave my car. And fire will catch up with them in that regard. So when a tanker explodes, what do you think is the next thing to do? What can we advise our listeners to do once they hear anything that has to do with gas explosion? Mr. Nonso, can you help us with this? Or you're busy right now? Hello, Mr. Nonso, are you there? Okay, let me call on Mr. Emmanuel. Mr. Emmanuel, are you there with us?
Yes, I'm with you, sir.
So we were discussing about tanker explosion, gas explosion, and we were saying that we see different kind of people anytime there is a gas explosion. Mr. Nonso, I haven't moved you to check again. You just joined again, actually. Whenever there are gas explosion, we have different kinds of people. We have those who will run for their life. You have those who will stay there and they want to steal the petrol. And we have some of them who are there with their car and they're like, no, I can't leave this car. Or some of them they are seeing a fire explosion and they still want to maneuver through the route and they get caught up in the fire. What is your advice, or what do you think we should do whenever we see issue of gas explosion?
All right. One thing I know about gas explosion as related to our country, Nigeria, is that, like you said, there are lots of people. Once an accident happens, you see that some people tend to go there to scoop the fuel. There are some that their work is just to go there and look. I don't know why they do that. And there are also those that are waiting to also loot from the accident itself, not from the fuel now from those that perhaps they have been affected as a result of the accident. So when you look at it all round, they are like scavengers just waiting for that opportunity. Now, as a person or as a Nigerian who finds himself in that situation, one of your responsibility as a person is to ensure your own safety first. It's only when you are safe first that you can think about others. So, in case of an explosion, you see something like that, you are expected to move to a safe place first. It's only when you are safe then you can think of even calling 911 or calling the emergency. Even though I know our emergency response in Nigeria, it's still coming up. Yes, there's room
Yeah,
for
even
improvement.
our
But
emergency system in Nigeria, our emergency system in Nigeria needs an emergency to be needs to be attended to.
so so when you look at it, I think the first thing as a person you are supposed to ensure is your own safety. It's only when you are safe you can even think of rescuing another person. I don't know if you get that point, because in a situation, if like safety now, we always say, okay, you see somebody that is being electrocuted there and you know you are not capacitated to help that person. To be fair, it's better one person goes than for the two of you to go. That's just the truth. Once you know that you can't do anything to ease that situation or to calm it down, it's better you leave that scenario, the situation, for specialists. Not minding when they come. As a person, you have to ensure your own safety.
Safety.
And
Thank
then
you
you are
very
talking
much.
of people that don't want to leave their cars. Hello? Yes, I'm with you.
Yes. Yeah,
It's
continue.
only people that are alive that can drive cars. That's what I know. So if you feel you don't want to leave your car, yeah, okay. I only know it's captains that they say captains they go down with the ship, or pilots they go down with the plane. It's a car, for God's sake. you can always get a car. If God can provide you a car, I see no reason why why you be tying your life down to
Yes,
a
our
property.
life comes first
Yeah.
before the issue of cars. So cars is the secondary priority. The major priority is to be alive. So now let's go straight to the underground gas explosion that happened. I don't know who knows the name of the school in the area. I think they mentioned it here. They mentioned it somewhere here where the explosion happened. That who is there? Abule
Okay.
Ado. I think
It was close to the school.
or
Yes.
Abule Ado. Yes, that was not a that that was Bethlehem Girls College. That wasn't a petrol tanker. It was an underground pipe that is transporting or that is transferring gas from one point to another. I think it's methane gas or whatever gas, but an explode is a flammable gas. And now what we have is that there are these pipelines around us across the nation. The pipeline might be under your own house and you don't even know. Someone doesn't even know because there are no regulatory bodies to check to give a distance. They give a distance anywhere there is a pipeline. I think they call those kind of places Arepo or something. Anywhere there is gas line, they even call them gas. In the location they use the name gas line. They use the name gas line because if you look at there's an area here where I live, they call them gas line because that passing is a line that there's not an indication that there's a gas passing here. But the funny thing is that there's no distance, there's no accessible distance between the gas and the nearest building. If you look at the case of the accident that happened in the Abule Ado, the Bethlehem Girls College area, you see that there was an initial leakage. That is where the issue of if you see something, you say something. When you see that there's something that could likely lead to an accident, if you call the emergency next emergency number, and even if you don't have emergency number, call someone that knows someone that can call someone to attend to that situation. Even if it's the nearest policeman you see beside you, the nearest man you see beside you, call them, call their attention to it. Let them call someone that can call someone that will call the fire department to attend to it. Because the issue of fire department is another thing. In the whole of Songwater, I don't think we have more than one or two fire department, fire stations, which is also bad. There are a lot of things that lead to gas explosion, but when it happens, look at the explosion that happened in Abule Ado. There was an initial leakage. I think maybe it lasted for 1 hour or so, and nobody was able to do anything before the final explosion. And when there's a leakage, it continues to release gases. Till it gets to a stage where it can ignite. So any little sort of ignition, it blows up, and that is what we had in that in Abule Ado. So there are a lot of loopholes when people who saw the accident, who saw the leakage, could not stop or could not address it at that point in time. And there's an issue of the community, the local government community, not being trained or empowered on how to issue land in that area because there was a pipe there. Then there's no way buildings should be closer to that kind of area. And meanwhile, based on investigation, it was also said that there was like a tanker or something that was on the pipe, where the pipe was passing through. The tanker was there, and maybe it added pressure to it. Another thing that they said was that over time, due to erosion and other factors, the surface of that pipe in that area, of that gas pipe in that area, was visible and was getting rust. Now, this might have been visible for like, let's say 2 to 3 years, but people will ignore, which is another important concern. Anytime we see something, we should do something. If we see something that can lead to serious issues, that can lead to accidents, that can lead to explosions, let us try to communicate it to the necessary parties. Then I don't know our regulatory bodies, how functional they are, because we can't have a discussion without talking about them. Are there functional regulatory bodies that can address, we know of, that can address the issue of gas explosion. And let me give that to Mr. Nonso. Can you help us to address that? Can you hear us now? Are you audible now? Check your microphone, Mr. Nonso. I'm not muting you. Let me mute you and unmute again. Okay,
now I can.
I've muted and I'm unmuted.
All right. For petroleum products, DPR is the regulatory body. DPR regulates all activities concerning petroleum products, and as regards petroleum transportation, they also have other bodies that contribute, like the marketing bodies. IPMAN, MOMAN, they are all contributory bodies, major as in marketers of the Marketers Association, Oil Marketers Association. They also contribute to regulating petroleum transportation and marketing. So basically, DPR is responsible for regulating all these activities, especially those of the oil tankers and even siting of filling stations and gas stations too. There's a regulation that covers that. I think a 2018 regulation guideline for siting of filling stations and gas stations. So when these regulations are contravened, it is expected that DPR takes action on them. Those are the people we are supposed to report to. But how things are in Nigeria, so that is it.
It is very bad. It's very bad in Nigeria. Quickly, let's take some rest. 30 seconds rest, so we continue on our discussion. Thank you all for listening, and we are live on Safety Podcast with Waliola. Stay in touch. All for staying in touch. Remember, we're discussing about the issue of gas explosion in Nigeria, its causes, its effects, and what can we do as a person, as an individual, as a government, and as an organization. Our professionals have discussed with us various things to put in place to make sure that we don't have issue of gas explosion again in Nigeria. We give comment to Mr. Nonso, Mr. Daniel, and Mr. Emmanuel. And right now we have Mr. Bolaji with us. He just joined us. He's one of our safety professionals in building. We decided to have only males and we want to have only females. Unfortunately, the females that we invited are unable to attend this discussion. Please kindly mute yourself so that you won't disrupt the discussion. So, Mr. Bolaji, welcome back. We are discussing about, I think Mr. Bolaji has gone again, maybe when next he comes. We are discussing about gas explosions. We've talked about the various causes of gas explosion, the bad roads that we have, the incompetency of the drivers, and we also have issues that surround the lack of quality inspection of the equipment itself, and there are no regulatory bodies, and if they are not functional to make sure that all these things are being put in place. I also used to think, Mr. Daniel, please, I want to hear your view on this. I also used to think that all this transportation of gases should be done at night. Do you think it's practicable? Do you think it's reasonable? Because even sometimes you see some tankers, they'll be passing through the street, they'll be entering the street. Like maybe there's an hold up somewhere, then they will maneuver through the street. Is it right? And don't you think that to further reduce this effect, can it be possible for we to have these gases be transported at night only?
Yes, be it night or day. Accidents cannot tell us when it will happen.
True.
In the word of safety, we must do risk assessment, checking the likelihood and the consequence. So now, what is the likelihood that if a vehicle transport PMS at night, that accident will not happen? Fine, it might be high, cause one, our road are bad. For instance, the driver is moving at high speed cause the road is free, and suddenly he jumps into a pothole and try to maneuver his hand. Fine, the tanker might slump and fall because truck has high center of gravity. That's why when truck run very fast, they are prone to fall. So if they transport PMS at night, better, because when accident occur, the consequence, um, that is those that the accident will be affected will be minimal. Maybe there is no cars on the road, businesses are shut down, and then when such occur, it will just occur within the space of the incident. But how can we get help? Because at that particular time when accident occur, we have to what, seek for help until fire servicemen come or other emergency agencies. Fine, if they transport PMS at night, accident might still occur because people drive at high speed more at night than daytime. But what I will just suggest as a safety national is the company should put their vehicle in order. One, do thorough inspection before the vehicle goes to the depot to pick up fuel. Because most times, be it daytime or night, if your vehicle is faulty, accident is bound to happen. And then it is very unfortunate. Okay, it is very sad that our regulatory bodies are not proactive. They are being reactive. Why? Because it is when incident has occurred, that is the time you see all of them coming to show their face and their logo. They should be proactive in their duties and
to
make sure that they curb the occurrence of accidents.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel. And concerning the issue of the gases that happen that is not related to transportation, that is the underground pipe. Also, it is necessary for the government to put on regulatory bodies to make sure that there's a safety stance between the pipe and the nearest building itself, and also between when we have our stations, our gas stations, there should be safe distance between them and the nearest. It shouldn't be within residential areas. We have a lot of them around here, where at the back of the petrol station buildings. It's very common in Lagos State, and also domestic gases that we use for cooking too. They reside them in the community. So those are the things that we think to be put in place.
Okay, sir. Can I say something, sir? Because in the oil and gas world, there is one thing we call hazard area classification, trying to know where it is safe to operate fire equipment and then where it is not safe. Now, when you are to build a fire or build a filling station, right, you are to seek the advice of the government agencies to give you permits. Then they will now ask you what is the project you want to do. They will.
But are those things being done? Are those things, is it not for you to just take a amount of money
environmental impact? Yes. Even though you pay them and they know that you are stationing gas station there, they know that such things should not be built there because of corruption and poverty. in the land, people tend to sell their integrity for money. This thing starts from
Yes,
above,
the issue
because
of the
when
issue of
yes,
integrity.
yes,
The issue of
because like
integrity is also a very important factor
the
to consider, and that is how we have
to control.
that's how we have this kind of discussion, so that we can call on the government to do what is needful. People keep dying every day. Thank you, Mr. Daniel.
No,
People keep dying
okay,
every single day. We keep having a lot of houses being burned due to explosions. And on the fact we will be rounding up this session is already 1 hour 30 minutes, even though we started 30 minutes earlier. We'll be rounding up the session by the final notes from
Okay.
Mr. Nonso. Mr. Nonso just left now. I think Mr. Nonso, is he there? Is Mr. Nonso there with
I'm
us?
here. I'm here. I can hear you. Yes,
Yeah,
I
so
can.
we're rounding
Yes,
up
I
the
am.
session with your own
I'm here.
final notes.
Yes, huh?
And it will be when there is
Yes.
when we see something that can lead to gas explosion, we see gas explosion or the actual explosion. What do you think we as people we should do? What are the emergency procedures to follow when we see gas explosion? And that will be the last question for today. Till next 2 weeks, where we will come again and converge and have another good high level safety discussion. Over to you, sir, Mr. Nonso. Are you there, Mr. Nonso?
I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
All right. The first and safest thing to do is to evacuate wherever the incident occurred, to leave that vicinity to avoid being a casualty,
Even
and
if it's in our
then
street.
to call the appropriate.
Yeah, even if it's in our street, it's in our home where we are sitting.
Yes, evacuate there. Get your people to leave that environment, and then call appropriate authority to address the situation. And also, I wanted to contribute to the other question you asked about transportation of petroleum products. Aside the night only minimizes the impact. Another alternative would be to use trains. In most developed nations, they use trains to convey these highly volatile substances to various states. But here in Nigeria, we use poorly managed vehicles.
On bad roads.
So either using trains or maintaining our vehicles to prevent leaking. And also in our homes, coming back to preventing the gas in our homes, we also have gas cylinders in our homes. Gas cylinders should normally not be inside the house. It's supposed to be outside.
Yes.
This is one thing many of us overlook. It can also contribute to gas explosions, domestic gas explosions. So it's one thing we should look into. Keeping our gas cylinders outside, regularly checking the hose, because rodents can bite them and cause leaks, which would result in explosions. So these are little checks we should keep to.
Thank you very much. And from the last point that Mr. just raised, it is paramount that we must talk about home safety. And meet us again, same time, same venue, same application that we are using to discuss about issue of home safety. To the end, we appreciate you, most especially Mrs. Anike has been with us from the beginning of the discussion till the end, and we really appreciate that. Kindly share our link to people to follow us. Even if we are not live, they can follow us and later watch our audio clip. We will send our audio clip. We will publish it for people who want to view it later, to view them later. Share our links, share our platform. Let people be aware that there is a platform where we discuss about safety. It doesn't need to be video. It doesn't need to be. It just needs for us to listen, and we will all enjoy every beautiful moment. Thank you all for making it to this episode. Meet you again in 3 weeks' time. Mr. Nonso, we appreciate your presence. Mr. Daniel, thanks for your beautiful and professional contribution. Next week, we shall be discussing about home safety. See you next week, next 2 weeks, sorry. Bye.